I must say I enjoyed reading your book. It is concise, less than 200 pages, and the first half is all about economics. It's a history of economics for the last 300 years since Adam Smith, and the second half is about solutions to the mess we're in right now. And as we all know, there's this beautiful cup of coffee on the cover and a bill for $185, which is the whole point about how we don't value goods the way they should be, taking in all the cost of production. And I must say that I learned that myself recently when I was out buying a 12-cup coffee maker, still on the coffee theme. And I remember buying these machines for $50, $60, $70, and at Canadian Tire, which is a retailing institution here, it was $10 for 12 cups. And it was a really good machine, and I use it all the time. And it, you know, considering that retailers usually take half of the cost, you think, how could they make this and ship it across the ocean for $5 and still pay the workers? So talk a little bit about this whole concept of externalities.
Well, the way that we're confronted with prices, we're confronted with the cost of things is through the price. And prices conceal things. I mean, I talk in the book about hamburgers, about how the cost of a hamburger could be anything up to $200, according to one Indian research that looked at the environmental costs that are hidden, that are squeezed out of the price, the things that essentially are for free. And of course, for free means free to the manufacturer, free to the people who are making the hamburger in this case. It's not as if people don't suffer the costs and the consequences of environmental destruction through the way we consume today. It's not as if people don't suffer the consequences of cheap labor. Again, I talk in the book about how this $200 hamburger is $200 without even counting the cost of the labor that goes into the hamburger. I mean, we eat hamburgers come with tomatoes in North America, and this time of year they'll come from, the chances are they'll come from southern Florida. And in southern Florida, since 1997, over 1,000 people have been freed from conditions of modern-day slavery. Slavery not in the sense of having a crap boss, but slavery in terms of being chained up in the back of trucks, being forced to work for pennies a day, being forced to buy from the company store, having to pay for a shower that some people are charged $5 for, and when you're making pennies a day, it's cheaper to wash your hands free of the pesticides that they're covered in. Cheaper to wash your hands in bleach than it is to pay $5 for a shower.
Now, do you eat meat? I've heard that you could take more pollution out of the environment by stopping people from eating meat than whatever cars they choose to drive.
I'm a very bad vegetarian. I'm a very impure anything, and that's the way. I mean, I realize that I need to be working towards being a sort of meat and dairy free person, and I'm working towards there in a very lapsed way, and that's.
I notice you have a little sentence in the book that says, "I'm not sure if you should eat meat."
Well, I mean, I certainly think that looking, I have a lot of support for veganism and for vegetarianism, and I have my own personal failings about why I can't embrace that fully. But the impulse to sort of say, if only we all went vegetarian, everything would be fine, is, I think, overblown. And there's a reason why that's, on the one hand, a very attractive proposition. In other words, if only we could all go vegetarian, everything would be fine. It's nice to believe that, because, I mean, in many ways, that's something that we can all control. It feels like our own personal consumption decisions, if only we could refine those into a way in which our personal consumption decisions could transcend the rest of the world, everything would be fine. The trouble is that, of course, there are problems that are far deeper than our individual consumption decisions can account for. And so, yes, it's true, eating a low-carbon diet, eating vegetarian would be a low-carbon diet. But actually, it's perfectly possible for our soy to come from halfway around the world and to involve vast environmental destruction, vast degradation of water resources, and of, again, in Brazil, modern-day slavery. So it's not as if vegetarianism is anything pure. And again, this whole idea of purity, that's not me. But I do think, I mean, it's important for us to recognize how we are seduced into this idea of consumption can overcome everything. I mean, consumption is the watered down version of freedom of choice. You know, the consumer choice is what we're offered as an alternative to genuine democracy, where we get to choose between Coke and Pepsi. That's the kind of choice that's offered us through consumerism, and it's not the only choice we have on the table. It's just the very narrowed choice that we are offered and encouraged to participate in.
Still on the subject of the cost of things, you have a statistic in there that I just found fascinating about how the amount of daily Google searches that we do is equivalent to 91 around the world plane trips.
Yes, so this was a story that appeared in the Daily Telegraph in London, and yeah, I mean, the idea here is that there's a great deal that's hidden from us, even when stuff is free. And of course, free stuff is of course the ultimate way in which we are seduced into becoming consumers. But with something as seemingly innocent as a Google search, there's a lot of energy, there's a lot of resource use that is involved in making Google servers run. And there was a statistic that said that I mean, it's like every time you do a Google search, an angel dies. Yeah, I mean, it's a sort of strange, weird statistics about how there is an energy footprint and there are consequences of which we know not. Of course, it's true that 2% of world energy use goes into information technology. We don't really know how much a Google search involves because actually it's a trade secret for them about how they organize their servers and what goes on behind the scenes. So this Daily Mail article, Daily Mail or Daily Telegraph article was in various ways exaggerated and hyperbolic. But behind that is a real truth, that even the stuff that is for free and that seems most innocent, the Google search, has hidden costs that are borne by someone at some point, but not by us when we execute that search.
Right. Your book has been accused of being anti-market, but I heard you on the radio today saying you're not anti-market, you want markets to work better.
That's right. I mean, I think markets are really good things because I don't want someone telling me what to buy. I don't want someone telling me what to wear or to eat. And markets are great ways of decentralizing choice. And markets are also good ways of encouraging people to socialize. I talk in the book about how civilizations and cultures that don't have markets are distrustful of strangers, are not good at generating cooperative behavior. So markets are not really the problem. But capitalism is. I use the work of Fernand Braudel, the French historian, who makes the point that if you like free exchange, then actually capitalism is the anti-market. Capitalism involves the concentration of power in the hands of a few people. It involves a kind of approach to power and to distribution that are the very anathema of what markets are meant to be in terms of decentralization. So I think markets are terrific. I just don't think capitalism is the best way to help markets to function.
You're against the view that the free market should determine everything. And also, I guess, that government shouldn't get involved in trying to rescue companies when they get too big and they fail and bailing them out. But do you believe in capitalism as a system if it could continue, if it could be reformed?
Well, not really, because, I mean, the kinds of reform that would be necessary would be reforms that, for example, I mean, the way capitalism works, the way in which things, in the words of the subtitle, cost so much more than we think, is because there are a range of subsidies that capitalism extracts. One is from nature. The way that we consume today involves a vast amount of environmental degradation. There was a study in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences last year that said, okay, if we in rich countries in the global north were to pay for the environmental degradation we cause through overfishing, through shrimp farming and mangrove destruction, through the intensification of agriculture, through draining water resources and climate change and the hole in the ozone layer. If we were to pay for the consequences of the way we've consumed over the past 40 years, then we would owe developing countries, what, $5 trillion.